Hello everyone, I'm Todd Hilton and welcome to this edition of Nowhere Videos Meat and Potatoes, the program that shows you easy recipes for great food. In this episode, we're going to be showing you a delicious potato soup. This has actually become one of my family favorites, and everywhere that it's been served, it's been a hit. And also in this edition, preparing this dish for you folks out there is going to be my wife Holly. She's the actually the one who perfected the recipe. It's something that we found in a cooking magazine, and by adding some additional ingredients and doing some tweaking, it's actually turned out, I think, a lot better than the printed recipe that we found in the magazine. So, without any further delay, I will introduce you to Holly and let her take over.
Hi, I'm Holly, and I'm the guest cook for tonight. I'm going to be making potato soup, so if you want to step up, and we'll start with the onion. It's going to call for 1 chopped onion, and I'm going to start chopping it now. When found this recipe, it was okay. It wasn't particularly something that was like out of this world or anything. We've got a subscription to a magazine called Quick Cooking, and I love the recipes in there. They're all fast, easy to make, pretty fairly simple. But I like the potato soup recipe because it was quick. It was something that you can make in less than an hour. I think most of it is prep, but it just didn't have that extra kick that a lot of other things have that's in that recipe book. So I just kind of started improvising and adding things. The recipe that originally came in the magazine did not call for anything extra like ham. It was just a cheesy potato soup. And I'm like, what kind of soup is a potato soup without ham? So I started adding this, that, and everything, and just over using it several times, I got better at finding the right ingredients that just kind of tweaked it the right way. And basically, while I'm chopping this up, I'm gonna get 4 tablespoons. Let me double check that. It is 4 tablespoons of butter, because we're going to saute the butter. And just grab a knife here so we can cut the butter. Okay, and before I start chopping the onions really good, I'm going to add the 4 tablespoons of butter into the pan. And I'm going to put it about medium heat and put the butter, excuse me, and I'm not going to be using, back in the fridge. I think the favorite type of onion I like to use is the Walla Walla Sweet. It's got just about the right flavor to it, and it doesn't sting the eyes as much like this one does. If anybody's got some good home remedies to prevent the onion from burning your eyes, please let us know, because it is one of the most hated things I have about this recipe is the onions. Yes, I do this mostly blind. I'm starting to tear up now. Might want to keep a towel handy when you do this. I'm not the quickest person on doing this, so it takes me a little while. So of course it gets to be really bad for the eyes. Okay, I think that's just about ready. I'm going to bring the pan over, just slide this in. on the stove and move it up. The next step would be the potatoes. They're going to need to be peeled and cubed. I usually use about 10 to 12. Depends on how big they are. These are pretty decent size. They're not too big, they're not too small, so I'm going to use about 10. Get some good size ones here. 7, 8, and 9, 10. Basically, I get them wet first, and it gets all the dirt off of them a little bit, so it helps to peel them a little better. Sometimes I leave a little bit of peeling on, but not much. Just little bits here and there. As you can hear, the onions are starting to saute in the pan. And then after I peel it, I rinse it again. Get it ready for being cubed. Not doing too bad with these. Got my first set of fake nails on today. A bunch of us went out and kind of splurged on ourselves. I'm trying to get used to them. I didn't think I was going to be able to do this, but not bad. I haven't tried to hack my nails off yet. I took the onions off the burner because I'm never fast enough with the chopping of the potatoes. I don't really do them too big or too small. Some of them I do small chunks, some of it I do big chunks. I like my potato soup to have the potatoes consistency where you can actually taste the chunks of potato and feel them instead of just having a pile of mush. So as you can see, some of them are big and then some of them are really small. Just go through. And basically, while this is getting cut up, what I can do is I can put the onions back on the burner and I'm going to add the chicken broth. It's usually, the original recipe calls for about 5 cups of water. I use about the equivalent in chicken broth. It gives it a little extra flavor. So I'm just going to pour that in. So that's all in there. There we go. And it doesn't look like much. I don't even think this is 5 cups. This is 32 fluid ounces, which is a quart. So I'm guessing this is about 4 cups. So it's 1 cup short than the original recipe. But when you add the potatoes, the fluid starts to rise. And I'm going to put this on high. It's got to come to a boil. While this is working on coming to a boil, I'll add the rest of the potatoes as I chop them. Now, like I said, this recipe, it's quick and it's easy, but the majority of the work is prep time, and you're going to be continuously doing prep for this recipe while as it's cooking. As you can see, I'm still doing some are small chunks, some are big chunks. We're almost done here. Got one more potato. And a thick one. Okay. And it looks like it's still just simmering. Hasn't even started to boil yet. And we got the potatoes done. That added in there. If it doesn't look like, or you feel that you need to add more water to this, you can. About another cup would do it. But with all the other ingredients that are going in, I wouldn't. Or sometimes, like what I do, I end up having to grab another pan because I have overflow. The next thing we're gonna chop would be the ham. And I'm gonna use probably about 3/4 of this. I'm just gonna slice large chunks. Now with some of these, they don't come with this, but this one that I got came with it. So remember to peel that off so it doesn't end up in the soup. Now this soup is really going to be really thick, really creamy, very fattening. Seems to be the most popular version that I have. Is it calls for 2 cups of milk, and I use the heavy cream in it instead. And that's what makes it really thick and creamy. But also the most fattening, I believe. And just like the potatoes, some of them I cut really big like those, and others I cut really small chunks. Sounds like, let me see, it looks like the potatoes are just starting to boil. It'll be a few more minutes and then it'll come to a full rolling boil. And then what we'll do is we'll move it down to a simmer, let it simmer for about 10-15 minutes, and add the rest of the ingredients. I like to add the ham in with the potatoes as it's simmering. That way the ham gets its full flavor into the full soup. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding this. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to leave it at that, let it come to a boil. I'm going to also add, this is a fairly large one, so I'm going to only add one. I'm going to add 1 green onion on top of the medium-sized onion we already added into it. Just going to thinly slice it. As you can hear, the potatoes and ham are already boiling. Been boiling for a minute or two now, so by the time I finish this, it'll be ready to be covered and simmered. Now it'll need to be simmered for about 15 to 20 minutes, and that's when you can finish the rest of your prep. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add the green onion here, and you can see it's been boiling. should start to basically soften the potatoes a little bit. Before I stir that in, I'm going to add the pepper. Usually, you can guess it's about a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half of pepper, and a little bit of garlic powder, about a half a teaspoon. Just going to sprinkle that in there and stir that in. The green onion just gives it a little bit of color, and it feels like they're still fairly firm potatoes. So, and it is starting to boil, and it has been boiling for a while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cover it, lower the temperature down. We're going to let it simmer for the 15-20 minutes. Okay, it's been a little over 15 minutes, and it looks like it's the consistency that we need. The potatoes are semi-soft and cooked all the way through, and it has thickened up quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this down to low. And the next thing I'm going to add is the cream of chicken soup. Just going to go ahead and add that. I like to get as much of it as possible out of there. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the heavy whipping cream. Stir that in really good. This is why I said if you were going to add water, probably wouldn't be the best idea, because as you can tell, it's already fairly full. I like to make double batches of this and freeze one of them for another time. That way all it is just defrost it, and it's good for a few days of dinners or lunches. There we go. And bring that back up to I'm going to just take it up to a 3. Take it a little bit above a low, but below a simmer there. So it just kind of evenly works itself through. It looks like the soup, the cream of chicken soup, has been blended in really good. Just in case, I'm going to let it sit for a couple of minutes, and while that's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and chop the cheese up into cubes and add that to the soup, and you'll see why I said not to put it in large bits into the soup. Some of it stuck there to the cutting board. I'm going to go ahead and add this into the soup and stir it in. Just drop that in and blend it in. You can see it doesn't melt right away. It takes a couple of minutes. So I'm just going to let it sit in there and just keep adding. Eventually you'll see it start to turn a cheesy color. As you can see, some of the cheese is starting to melt. You can start to see it change kind of an orangish color. You can also see the other chunks of cheese still in there. So we're just going to go ahead, let that sit, add a little bit more. I'll probably end up using the rest of this. And let's add the rest of the cheese in. Yeah, now we're kind of pushing the limit on this pan, but that's okay. We have hit just about the majority of the ingredients that's going to affect the depth of this. Make sure when you stir this, you stir up the bottom because that's where the cheese is going to land and it's going to start to thicken. And as you can see, it's starting to melt really good. It's starting to take on a nice orangish color. There's still a little bit more cheese in there that needs to be melted down, but it shouldn't take too long. As you can tell, it's got a consistency of a pretty good thickness to it. It's just dripping off the spoon instead of just falling off. So you know it's got a nice thickness to it. Something that's going to stick to you. And it's great for cold winter nights. Something simple, something hot, something very filling. Something easy to make too. Probably a really good time to do this is like the day you take the kids out to go get the Christmas tree. You come home, make the soup, let it simmer while you trim the tree, and then dig in. Okay, while that's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and add some parsley. I've already rinsed it off. So I'm not going to use a whole lot of it, just a small bit of it. And this is about probably enough, if not too much. You can use the dried parsley or you can use fresh parsley. I prefer the fresh. Gives it a little bit more flavor. And you just kind of chop it up. It's also another one that you add just to give it a little bit of color. I add a little bit of the stem because the fresh does have a good flavor to it. So let me go ahead and add this in there. Whoops. Okay, let's get this stirred in here. It looks like the cheese is all melted through. A little bit more. Now, if you like your things a little bit spicy, I do add a secret ingredient that kids don't seem to mind as long as I don't use a lot of it. I use some crushed red pepper. I've got some here, but this is already pre-measured out. It's probably about a teaspoon, and I'll just go ahead and add that in there. As you can see, more like about a tablespoon. I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle that in there. Stir that in. And there you have it. Potato soup. And that was ham and potato soup. It's, like I said, fairly quickly to make. It took less than an hour to make. The majority of the work is basically prep time. And it it's basically easy and it's a meal into itself. And from what I know, for this season, this is the first actual dish that's been made that actually has meat and potatoes. So thank you again, and my name is Holly Hilton. You have a good evening.
Okay folks, that's going to do it for this edition of Nowhere Videos Meat and Potatoes. I hope you enjoyed our recipe for potato soup. Also want to thank my wife Holly for bringing that delicious recipe to us. And we're going to see you next time. We hope you continue watching our show. And also, if you happen to come up with a recipe you want to share with us, you can email it to us at noravideo@hotmail.com or visit our website, noravideo.tripod.com. And if you submit a recipe to us and we use it on our show, you'll win a official Meat and Potatoes apron. You can find out more details on that on the website. And once again, want to thank you for watching. So, for Nowhere Videos Meat and Potatoes, I'm Todd Hilton. Good taters, good meat, good grief, let's eat. We'll see you next time.